Good evening, viewers. This is HimanshuBhayani, and you're watching the digital video news bulletin in English language of datelinegujaratnews.com. So, to what news the world woke up today? The world woke up to the news of Leopard 2 tanks, which were to be delivered by Germany to Ukraine, which has reached Ukraine. So, that's the news. That's the headlines across in most of the media across the world. And this reports, this news has been mainly, the world pack has mainly been dominated by the news from Eurasian continent. So something from Europe and something from Asia. Russia test-fired missiles, supersonic missiles at a target in Sea of Japan. And Germany has come to a halt with a huge strike, which has even paused the public transportation network, including trains and planes. What's happening in Asia? On the Asian Silk Route, if we see the developments, China is bailing out nations after doling out huge loans, and China has almost spent a figure of almost $240 billion. So that's what China is doing right now. And amidst this, what has happened is Jack Ma has been spotted. He was seen with the meeting with the teachers and students in a school, and as there were news of Jack Ma having disappeared, with Jack Ma seen in China, the Alibaba shares have become a zing thing. They've grown, the prices have gone up, and there's a kind of a wave of positivity, a wave of optimism on the Chinese share market. Kim Jong-un has done something which is very unusual. He has declared a lockdown of entire city based on the information that one soldier had lost 653 bullets. So till each and every bullet is not recovered, he has put a city under a lockdown. This is how dictators work. This is how the fascist nations work. There have been reports of North Korea calls for scaling up weapons for weapons-grade nuclear material. So that's what North Korea is engaged into. And equally, another development, South Korea has given a nod to buy Chinook helicopters to transport facilitate its logistics of mobilizing the forces, etc. And Chinese Coast Guard ship has been chased out of Vietnam waters. Philippines has arrested some suspects of, the separatist group who are pro-Khalistani members. So these arrests have happened by the Philippines, the security arm. And this is the news from India, which you can, as I said, we'll always also talk about the news from India, which is into the international circuit. Britain has targeted the suppliers of Myanmar Junta in new set of sanctions. They've said that we will target those suppliers because Myanmar Junta is, the way it is behaving in Myanmar and Bangladesh with the Rohingya Muslim crisis and everything. In report from India, 54 Chinese investment proposals are awaiting Indian government's nod. So I think a due diligence needs to be done while it's to be dealt with China, and I think that's the reason this statement comes from the finance minister from the horse's mouth, where she says that 54 Chinese investment proposals are awaiting Indian government's nod. Yesterday we talked about Saudi Aramco's China refinery, which is going to be of 3 lakh barrels per day. That is 300,000 barrels per day. And Aramco is equally eyeing even the carbon capture decision. So they would even go with this, with the kind of complexes they have across the world. They would also like to eye the carbon capture areas basically. There is an interesting piece in Wall Street Journal which speaks about how American exchanges fires with Iran's Syrian deep state, which reflects how the skirmishes illuminates and how Tehran hollows the Arab state to establish control. So this is the opinion piece worth a read. And UN Security Council has rejected the joint proposal of Russia and China for a probe of explosions at the Nord Stream. So UN Security Council said, please be in your limits. And there has been a audio clip which has gone viral across the internet on several social media platforms and media platforms, and especially in the Russian media and the Eurasian media, which says that the Russian billionaire slams Putin, calling him Satan. End of the story. As far as the news pack from Israel goes, Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, has reportedly paused the legal reforms to avoid any civil war-like situation. And yesterday we saw that his family was shifted to Shin Bet, the domestic intelligence office, how the protesters, marched across the streets for the whole night for suspending the defense minister. So this all has been happening. Amidst this, he has said that we are pausing the legal reforms. Now, what happens in another set of development is yesterday Saudi Arabia reacted to the burning of Holy Quran in Denmark, and today Turkey has reacted sharply, and they have said that we criticize this and this is not acceptable. So they have reacted basically to the burning of Holy Quran in Denmark, and they've said we don't accept this and we criticize this very phenomena of burning holy book. What's happening in Africa? Interesting piece of development. US Vice President Kamala Harris is on visit to Africa. She announced aid of $100 million in Ghana, and miners from Congo, a gold mine in Congo, they have come out. The way they have come out, that video has gone viral across social media. It has been trending on Twitter. So that's how it is. And meanwhile, Saudi Arabian Airlines has launched direct flights to Dar es Salaam, which will, with a fleet of new Airbus A320s, and this will help in saving the time of 4 hours for the connecting flights. Apart from that, Google has blocked the unlicensed loan apps from Kenya, the Kenyan loan apps. And climate activists have been telling the CEOs in the African company to stop insuring carbon projects, as there are loopholes in policies, and that is creating a problem. So they have said that please, for a while, its standard allows insurers to keep underwriting the expansion of fossil fuel production. So they said, please stop this. Equally, pirates have targeted a Danish-owned oil tanker in Gulf of Guinea, and they have captured that. These are the reports from that. And Mozambique has done a fantastic thing. Mozambique's National Institute of Disaster Management, they have purchased a cyclone insurance in an effort to protect its most valuable population from the increasingly frequent impact of cyclones. What happens in India, unseasonal rain, cyclones. So even Africa has asked for a debt for climate swap. They have said that we want to protect our population against these climate swaps. On the other news, Zambia and Democratic Republic of Congo, they ink a pact for electric vehicle battery value chain feasibility study. So I think they will now go ahead and further ink the pacts of the rare earth metal mining, etc. In developments on Europe, UK and Eurozone markets calm, but slow motion economy seems unavoidable. That's the warning from IMF. This is followed basically with the FTSE 100 rebound as shares it did in the largest UK commercial banks after the Deutsche Bank sell-off on Friday. And amidst this clouds of economic uncertainties, what is more worrying or warning is that the report from Goldman Sachs, which says that 300 million full-time jobs are at risk of being automated, and artificial intelligence, chat GPT, etc. is posing threats to the 2/3 jobs in US and Eurozone. Economy to slow down, jobs at a threat because of technology. God bless Europe and US. In a shocking news development, what has happened, it's a bad news for the broadcasters, for the journalists, is that the Germany's public broadcaster Deutsche Welle, DW, it has set to close the office in Turkey because Turkey did not, renew its operating license. They declined to extend its operating license, and the move has been condemned and criticized by several media rights groups, journalists, etc. While the Eurozone is busy monitoring the Chinese companies and their activities, the new report has surfaced where the Belgian intelligence unit has put Huawei on the watch list. And this is a development for one more Chinese company which is now on the watch list of Belgian agencies. Hundreds gathered in London to protest the new immigration policy, the UK's new immigration policy. And good news about amidst this, this protest and everything is happening, somebody on the watch list and everything. But the good news which comes from Bucharest exchanges is that most of the companies which are listed on Bucharest exchanges, they boast 66% stronger profits since 2016. Seems Bucharest is going in a bull run, or the bull market run. And Cyprus has witnessed a major surge in almost equivalent to 5 times in number of asylum seeking applications since 2016. This is also something which is happening in Cyprus. Moving ahead, talking about the US, the Caribbean blues and the Latin American push, if we see Of course, the news is dominated in the American media landscape mainly by the Trump trials and Stormy Daniel developments and all that. But amidst it, there is a bad news that a fire at a Mexican facility near US border has killed many immigrants, almost 40. The reports are emerging that 40 immigrants have died in this fire accident. And a shocking revelation comes that the arms which America is sending to Ukraine to fight Russia are being smuggled back in Northern America and are being smuggled through dark web, through darknet by Mexican cartels, the Mexican crime cartels and the Mexican drug cartels. Tera tujhko arpan. That is how it is going. Moving ahead, Canada does not have too much of news today because I think there is some few developments in Canada, and where Canada is basically eyeing a US-made surveillance aircraft for Canadian Armed Forces, replacing the CP-140s with the Poseidons for the maritime patrolling, basically. And Biden has advocated closing loopholes on the Canadian border. So that's the news largely from the Canadian pack. Of course, there are in the other headlines, there are so many news from Canada, but apart from this, these are the major headlines from Canada. We generally give the highlights of the news. Rest you can go and check it on our website, read our newsletter, click those links, select those bullets, put it in the search engines on internet, search the news. So we don't want to overload you with the content, but we want to give you the basic as to what is happening in the world. And that's what we're talking, highlights. America, what is happening? Satellite images display the scale of destruction in Mississippi before tornado and after tornado. The 40 years, one of the worst tornadoes hit Mississippi and the suburbs, and this is what has happened. The way we saw Zambia and Democratic Republic of Congo shaking hands for EV battery value chain, the same thing has happened. Japan and US are going to forge a deal on supply of minerals for EV batteries. So most of the countries worldwide are, kind of shaking hands for the rare earth metal mining, because electric vehicles and the batteries to be used in electric vehicles in your cell phones is going to be kind of in demand, and that's where they are trying to secure their needs. US will continue to strengthen its defense cooperation with Indonesia. That is what is in the news, in the US media. And China has issued a report on human rights violation news. I think that in itself is a news. They have issued a report on the human rights violation in US, stating that 2022 witnessed a setback in US human rights. China showing human rights protocol to US, and it itself is a story, I suppose. And an interesting opinion piece, how democracies are transformed into fascist oligarchies. That is worth a read, because the way these millionaires, Dhanna Seths, these billionaires, the way they handle the governments and how they come into the power and how they keep the remote in their hands, that is something. And it's worth a read, I suppose. While the report also claims that in a series of investigations across countries which spanned over almost 2 years in several countries, Ivana Trump, the first wife of ex-US President of Donald Trump, was under FBI investigations. Shocking, isn't it? But this has happened, and this is there in the media. With Mexican President Obrador's decision to roll back reforms aimed at opening Mexico's power and oil markets to outside competitors, it has sparked a kind of trade dispute with US, and where now US says that it has given an ultimatum, it's planning an ultimatum basically, that in this energy dispute, you be in line or else be ready to see more tariff, there will be a tariff rise. So arm twisting methodologies by big countries for a small countries, any which ways. For the emerging economy, by developing economy for an emerging economy. Going ahead, in the Caribbean archipelago, what's happening? We talked yesterday about the Alpha Nero yacht of a Russian billionaire, which is on the auction, and it has been kind of in a limbo, because there have been several claims by a few of the owners, which are rightfully there or not, or nobody is able to verify that. But Antigua Barbuda has issued an official statement. They've given a deadline of March 31st to resolve the dispute of the ownership, and they've said if that doesn't happen, we will auction this. It is already anchored and it's stranded in the harbor of the nation, so we'll do that. A cargo ship has dashed a reef in a marine reserve in Caribbean, and while it will come out, there will be a damage which will be excess, and then probably whatever fine is to be given to them, that will be given to that ship owners or the shipping company. Digicel to lay off 126 workers as they shift their call center to Jamaica. So Digicel is basically a company which is into telecom, and they are shifting their call center to Jamaica. So that's the news, mainly from Trinidad and Tobago. So that's the news. So that Trinidad customer contact, the Trinidad Tobago customers contact center is now going to be shifting to Jamaica. In other developments, inaugural Nassau Paradise Island and Wine Food Festival, that is going big. Pictures are worth visualizing. I mean, it's a treat to eyes. And as we talked about Haiti, the way UN Council had warned that Haiti is being ruled by gangs, a Haitian gang has demanded $200,000, that is $2 lakh, for safe return of kidnapped Florida couple. That's Haiti. On the Latin American landscape, cocaine worth $20 million has been seized which was headed for Turkey, which has been seized in Peru. And there's an opinion piece which reads that China-Taiwan battle lines run through Latin America. That is interesting, the way Honduras developments are happening, the way they are looking towards the southern hemisphere of Argentina. And yesterday we talked about Cuba. Cuba's final voter turnout has been 76% in parliamentary polls. It is considered to be the lowest turnout. We thought it was the highest turnout as compared to India, but it is the lowest turnout since 1959. And some of the activists are questioning the voter turnaround data. So they are telling that this is not, they are alleging irregularities basically in the parliamentary elections. It happens everywhere. Going ahead, we talk of the Playful Pacifics. Not much of news today from Playful Pacifics, but New Zealand is open for the non-nuke talks with AUKUS and study the proposal to partially join AUKUS alliance, how they join the AUKUS alliance. And Samoa Tourism has forayed into China. They opened the office with a big bang, and they'll be marketing the Samoa tourism in China. Reserve Bank of Australia, there are 50-50% chances, but Reserve Bank of Australia is likely to mull the interest rates. They may hike the interest rate, that's what it is. And I mean, there is a retail sales slowdown, so they are thinking to hike the interest rates. And Pentagon selects Australia's hypersonics for reusable hypersonic test platform. So that's the news on the defense front. And amidst this is all the kind of news which comes from the housing sector. The real sector is that Canberra, the deadlock on affordable housing remains the way it is. It's not being solved. But Sydney mansions are smashing out. I mean, the real estate records, the way it is being sold. I mean, this report is worth clicking and watching. The mention which is there on the cliff, on the sea cliff, it's a visual eye treat. I mean, it's a visual delight. You should watch it. And the housing crisis in Queensland worsens because the way flooded damage, so people are seeing. You can see this also in the photograph. People stay in tents, and that's how the situation there is. A very pathetic situation. Going ahead in frozen polars, the Arctic Council in itself is in a frozen state because Norway is in process with Russia to transfer the Arctic Council chair. Now this has kind of created a pressure within the Arctic Council, and most of the opinion pieces say the Arctic Council is dead. That's what it is. And snowy weathers in Scotland and UK could return. That's the forecast from the Met Office. Aerial footage which has been released of a gigantic breakaway Atlantic iceberg is simply mind-blowing. You should watch this. And most of the research highlights that an overlooked excellent of ice loss from Antarctica's Thortis Glacier. So if this is taken into consideration, the ice loss will tantamount, it will go a little more. And oil tankers, on a business front, if you see, the oil tankers without ice class protection could soon start shuttling on northern sea route as Russian oil companies are desperately looking for new markets. And nuclear icebreaker operator Rosatom now offers Lukoil and Gazprom Neft escorts across icy waters of Asia. Asia. So, you have a kind of a pilot vessel which breaks the iceberg, etc., and takes you ahead. And these oil tankers can now, that traffic can increase. That is what is being read more or less. So this was the news from across the world, across the day. Wishing you a good day ahead. Good night and thank you, and keep watching our video bulletin. Do share your comments, and of course, do read our website and our newsletter, our news wires on our website, datelinegujaratnews.com, datelinegujaratnews.com. That's our URL. Thank you.